You have to be literate, ability to speak and write in a language. You have to be numerate, so ability to understand numbers, and be able to add and subtract, etc. You have to be digitally savvy, so that's the ICT literacy. You must be literate in technology, you must be literate in basic science, you must be literate in basic financial services, right? And you also must be literate in cultural and civics. So that allows you to understand the culture of other people, and civics is about your own obligations in society. And then you have some competencies that you require to solve complex challenges. Those competencies include critical thinking or problem solving, creativity, communication, and collaboration. And communication is important. The ability to just communicate your ideas, communicate your message in a good way to the audience. And then lastly, you have the character qualities. These are character attributes, things you have in terms of your character, the way your person is made up. So you're talking about leadership, talking about persistence or grit. Grit is determination, perseverance, and persistence until you achieve an objective. Talking about curiosity and social and cultural awareness. Social and cultural awareness so that you know more about your neighbor, other tribes, other communities, since we now live in a connected world. And so those are important. So I'm going to use those to just set stage in terms of what the imagined world is like. For us to understand the imagined world will be a bit different from the world that we know it. And everybody needs to have some character attributes, some foundational skills, some basic. And the next major title or the next major part of the topic is ethics. And ethics is really just about your moral principles, the moral conduct, and the kind of the appropriate way one can behave, right? How to choose between what is right and what is wrong. And so, in the professional setting, which is the setting for this session today, ethics will be the kind of values, kind of beliefs, and moral principles individuals that every professional should have and should strive to follow. Now, a professional code of ethics is then designed so that everybody know the expected behavior, the expected rules for behavior, and universal compliance is expected. And that is important, universal compliance. So it doesn't matter whether you're a professional in Ibadan or you're a professional in Ikire, whether you're a professional in Senegal, you're a professional in Sudan, or you're a professional in Atlanta, or you're a professional in Australia, or you're a professional in Cape Town, or a professional in Cairo. It really doesn't matter. Universal compliance is expected for this professional ethics. It doesn't matter whether you are working physically or you are working virtual, or whether you are working remotely or you are working in person. It doesn't matter whether you're a Muslim or a Christian or an atheist. It doesn't matter your gender, it doesn't matter your ethnicity. Right? For professional code of ethics, everyone that calls himself or herself a professional is required to comply. So this code are universally defined, universally expected, and they're universally accepted. And so it doesn't matter whether you're working virtual or online or in person, you still need to comply with this. And so the first set is to really define what are the qualities of a What do you expect from ourselves, a professional? The first thing is competence. Knowing your stuff, knowing exactly the the subject matter. So if you call yourself a pharmacist and your profession is pharmacy, then you must know, you must be competent in pharmacy, you must know pharmacy. Or if you call yourself a teacher, then you must know how to teach. Right? So competence is important. That's knowing the basic technical requirements of that profession. The second is standing for something. Like you say, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. Right? So there must be some basic moral principles and lines you will not cross. Then a professional must keep his word. Your word must be your band. Right? So if you say, I will deliver this proposal at 10 a.m. tomorrow, and ideally you want to deliver that proposal at 10 a.m. tomorrow, 9 out of 10 times. You must be honest and you must support others. You must support others. So, which is why you have mentoring circles, you have counseling, you must support others. Professionals must be neat in appearance, they must be punctual, must have right attitude of continuous learning, humility, must have the right character, hardworking, must know how to communicate, they must respect themselves, respect others, be able to work in a team, be able to deliver very high level of productivity, be good at organizing things and getting things done, must have good conduct, must be reliable, must be dependable, must be competent, and lastly, must have poise. And poise really is the ability to maintain your cool and maintain your composure, even in the face of anger, which happens on the move. And if you subscribe to this professional ethics, what do you benefit? I think the first thing in terms of is a benefit. Why is it important to have professional ethics? First is that it allows every profession to set a minimum standard that is expected for all the professionals in that sector. And of course, they will know that there are sanctions if they don't perform up to the minimum standard. So that's really the first thing. It sets minimum standards of acceptable behavior. The second is that it also provides learning opportunities for young professionals. So young professionals know that these are the things they need to do. These are the codes they need to subscribe to for them to be able to grow and to develop and to grow in the industry or in that profession. It creates a standard for fairness between the professionals and the non-professionals. So if you take lawyers will call themselves learned persons, and the rest of us we are unlearned. But because there's a code of ethics for lawyers, even those of us that are unlearned, we know what to expect. We know what a lawyer should do and not do. So there's that balance of power and a sense of equity that the professional code of ethics provides. And lastly, the professional code of ethics also allows the professional to do his or her work. So imagine you are the finance manager, you are the accountant, you are the CFO. You know that your job as a professional is to provide the best, accurate financial statement. It doesn't matter if your boss, the CEO, wants you to change it or to lie. You will act as a professional and say, okay, as a professional, I'm sworn to my professional ethics, and these are the things I must do. I cannot lie. I cannot play with the books. I cannot change the numbers. That's because your professional ethics requires it, and so that provides you a bulwark against pressures that may come from superiors. For each executive for each leader. I've put here a list of the kind of ethics, the kind of behaviors. First is being honest, being just, right? And keeping your word. Being trustworthy, loyalty, fairness to others, concern for others, respect for others, accountability, empathy, kindness. Your empathy, compassion, self-control, self-awareness, self-motivation, all those are part of emotional intelligence, right? So a high level of emotional intelligence is required if you really want to be a successful professional. Accountability and good conduct, dedication to getting things done, being responsible, being tactful, follow through and making sure that decisions are implemented, being objective, maintaining confidentiality of information when it's required, following the rule of law, and being professionally competent. These are some of the required behavior from professionals, the professional ethics for individuals. And when you do some of these, all you'll be a high performer. You'll be delivering work and at a standard well above others. The position will allow you to gain the confidence of stakeholders. You will avoid scandals. You will avoid things of disrespect, because you will then have opportunities to grow your career, to advance your career, to develop yourself, and of course to achieve your goals in a sustainable manner. And so, subscribing to this professional way of work, of living, will ensure that even you can be a high performer and be able to achieve success in your own endeavor. And so, lastly, talking about how can we then develop and sustain these types of behavior, these rules, these ethics. First thing is your self-awareness. Yourself, knowing what you are good at and knowing what you need, and then draw up a plan of how you want to really improve on the areas where you have gaps. Second is to also cultivate self-discipline. Self-discipline is the ability to set things for yourself and say, okay, I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m. and you wake up at 5 a.m. I'm going to be at the office for 8 a.m. and you'll be at the office for 8 a.m. 8 a.m. It doesn't matter whether it's raining or it's or there is sunshine. Yeah. So punctuality is important. In Nigeria, unfortunately, we don't have a good record of certain events on time, certain things on time, or any event on time. So those who are able to be punctual, to do things on time, start on time, end on time, people will look at them as special. Use your time wisely. The whole concept of what is important, what is urgent, and make sure you focus on things that are important. Maintain your balance. So everything should not be about work, neither should everything be about play, but maintain the balance between the two. Continue to develop yourself, find ways to develop yourself, find ways to be relevant, and then set smart goals. Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. Set smart goals to be able to focus your resources and focus. As I wind down, because it is a MSSN, I wanted to remind us that all the things that we've said, unjust, it's hardly that's in Islam. Becoming a trustworthy person. The prophet was called Al-Amin because he was someone that was trustworthy, that was of high integrity. Right. So all of this conduct that we've talked about, all of this behavior right, as I talked about, they are really nothing new. There are things that we Muslims have been enjoying to do in the Holy Quran. And like Allah says, uh, the best of you are those who are of good conduct, right? And if you look at Suratul Bani Israel, verse 17, or if you look at Suratul Luqman, chapter 31, where Luqman talks to his son, the basic things you're supposed to do, right? Regular prayer, charity, enjoy what is just, forbid what is bad, do not walk with insolence, be patient, moderate in your pace, lower your voice, speak the truth, give full measure when you measure. Those things are basic things of integrity. They are basic behaviors that we Muslims and the Prophet says, a Muslim is one who is supposed to remain conscious of his God. Unite friendship, unite kinship, unite friendship, to do charity, even if the other person has not been kind, to do charity, and to command what is right. So if you do all of this, you'll be a good professional, and you, of course, you benefit from it. So lastly, the fast of righteousness. Let's that's Quran chapter 2, verse 127. So righteousness as a Muslim, good conduct as a Muslim, more than prayer or salat. Righteousness is spending, living in Allah, spending for the poor, paying on time, fulfill contracts, fulfill your obligations. And when you are righteous, you will have a reward fully. Inshallah, the righteous person will do things that Allah has commanded, and that will make you a successful professional. May Allah make it and one of us make this deen easy for us to follow, and He grant us benefits both here and in the hereafter. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. All right, thank you. Thank you so much, Steve. So thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you around. That was very, very impactful, highly impactful message. Quality Lord, and indeed, you actually maintain professional ethics and behavior of that. Thank you so much. If you have a capable hand that is on that, self-manufacturing to you, once again, may Allah continue to improve you in your knowledge, and may Allah see you through in all your endeavors. Thank you so much on behalf of GRAMA. Now we're getting on to the panel session. I was supposed to actually have a break of about 5 minutes. Nonetheless, I'm quite sure that everyone at this point is will find up with the information and the details that have been put up by the keynote speaker already. So we're really looking up to, we're looking out to what exactly do we have our panelists, what would they be bringing out to us, especially in relation to the topic of discourse today, which is professional ethics in the emerging world. We are currently battling with the ravaging virus, COVID-19 pandemic, and already we're hearing that there is a new variant of this same virus in our dear country, Nigeria, who got us from August. But nonetheless, this, of course, has an impact negatively or positively for some businesses or companies, private or public organizations. Where, but regardless of that, I'm not the member of the panelists today, so I'll leave all this discussion to the panelists. So I've been using them in no particular order. I'll begin with the introduction of Mr. Ibrahim Olatunde, who is a business change project manager, Arrow Global PLC, from the United Kingdom. I also understand, of course, the HR professional.
He's also the founder of Indigo Brace Project Talent. He's here with us. Can you please respond to the testimony? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
While we are waiting to respond, Mr. Ibrahim, actually, I'd like to also
introduce very quickly Mr. Idris Aide, who is a chartered. You have Mr. Ibrahim already? Okay, quickly, Mr. Idris Aide was an ACA and also is a chartered financial analyst, CFA holder, and is currently the assistant manager banking accounting advisory, KPMG, United Kingdom, and also holds an MSc degree from World Quant University in quantitative finance. And he also sits as in the house.
Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Of course, we have our very own Dr. Ayub Abdul Ghani. Dr. Ayub Abdul Ghani is also
is an engineer,
of course. He was one time a director of studies of the MSSN Lagos State area. Dr. Ayub, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Great to have you all, gentlemen, on this platform today. Of course, this is going to be an interesting discussion because every one of us, even this program, ordinary a physical program, as it were, we are all in consonance with the social distancing that we currently have with respect to COVID-19. That's why the program is being held virtually. Now, nonetheless, let's get to the discussion. Can you also be the justice to the topic by telling us and then delving into what professional ethics is all about? I'd like to quickly go into a brief introduction. Just tell us exactly your name and what you do, basically, and just a brief introduction to professional ethics. Mr. Ayub, please. Dr. Ayub, sorry.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله.
I'm really glad to be in our midst today, and it's like coming back home. And indeed, I'm already seeing some beautiful faces that I know before. So we pray to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala to make this our gathering a beneficial one. Just to respond to your question, actually, my name is Ayub Abdul Ghani Adishina, and that I work with Sabic. It's a global company that is its headquarters is based in Saudi Arabia, but has branches all over the world. The only challenge I have is that we don't have one yet in Nigeria. But just in the recent time, we now have a representative in Nigeria. And it's not far-fetched why that happened. It's because of the insecurity and some challenges that we're facing in Nigeria. But now, alhamdulillah, they say that, yes, Nigeria is indeed a growing economy that they want to invest in as well. After that has been said, I have been working in SADC now for the past 10 years, and I'm a chemical engineer by profession. And my area of focus is actually in polymer engineering. And that I used to support all our polymer plants across the world. So when it comes to networking, or when we talk of global support, this is what I do. And just in the recent time, just early this year, I moved to the Research and Innovation Center within SADC, where we now look at innovation from all angles and see how we can actually move the company to a greater height. So this is what I've been doing, and it has been a very interesting journey as an engineer. And I will, as we move on, inshallah, I'll be able to share some of my experience and insight with my colleagues and the younger ones so that we can benefit from this. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much for that. Thank you. I'll come to Mr. Idris and to also give the introduction, background about his job, and then, of course, professionalism.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Walaikum salam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay. As rightly introduced, Idris Aide. I'm a chartered accountant and a CFA chartered holder. My experience close about 6 years now. Within the Big Four practice, it's mostly on accounting advisory. So, the Big Four are majorly the four biggest accounting firm in the world. So, they've got like practices in close to like 160 countries across the world. So you would virtually see almost the Big Four in various countries. So I'm currently working with KPMG in the UK, and my focus is mostly with financial services entities. So mostly helping asset management company, bank, insurance on things around accounting advices. So helping them with technical accounting questions on accounting standard, IFRS, UK GAAP or US GAAP. Yeah. Then I think as we go along, I might get to answer some of the questions, but it's more like just in a simple language. Accounting is just like it's my bread and butter, so I sleep, drink, and dream accounting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for that introduction as well. I'd like to come to Mr. Ibrahim Olatunde to also give a brief introduction about himself, and we'll come to the professional ethics part shortly. Walaikum salam
Alhamdulillah, and thank you so much for having me on. Sincere apologies for the slight delay. I had a few other things to sort out. I did explain to one of the, my dear brother, Sadiq, so sincere apologies. So yeah, I'm in the world of business change. So I practice primarily as a business change manager and consultant. At the moment, I'm working with a financial services multinational with head office in Manchester, UK. So I think what they're basically involved with. I've just been with them since March. And in all fairness, I've been working from home since. It's been so enjoyable, I must say. But in all fairness, so what they're involved with is to help people that are in financial difficulties to sort of come out of that financial situation without having the burden of debt on their heads, and it's just to find an easy way of coming out of their debt burden on using an interest-free model. Prior to that, I've been working automotive as a project manager and also within emergency services, also doing digital transformation. The world in there is very challenging. Having said that, it is very, very interesting as well. On the side, I founded a small initiative which is to mentor and support individuals, graduates, or people wanting to change career and move into the world of project management. So it's an initiative called Indigo Braze Project Talents. It's in its infancy, and in all fairness, it's started to support people to get jobs in that area. I do hope that one will be able to share further regards to those experiences as we go along with the discussion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Ibrahim Olatunde. Now, I'd like to talk to Mr. Idris Ainde. The question I'd like to pose to you in this case, at this point, is we're talking about professional ethics. Of course, we're talking about the humanity. Definitely, there are certain things that are really required. So I'd like to speak in the area of what are the professional ethics required in your field of job, maybe your field of work. Because it's where, just like you said, now you probably been an accountant all your life. So tell us what it really means professionalism as an accountant.
Thank you for the question. So, I mean,
going back to the basics, and this is me not being theoretical here, but if you be looking at accounting ethics, as far as accounting is concerned, you would want to go along the lines of what are more like the guidance on what are the code of ethics for an accountant uh, by accounting bodies, and the most referred one, which is more like the highest currently globally, is the International Federation of Accountants, known as IFAC. And the interesting thing is that for anyone that have been in the accounting practice, or you've been taking probably some professional accounting exams or gone through some accounting training, some of these code of ethics are things that have been talked quite over and over once over time, and I think I've come across them quite a lot of exams. But I mean, the real deal is where you actually get to work, and you are faced with situations where you now have to make a choice, or you have to like practicalize those things. But in some way, when as far as accounting practice is concerned, when you ask what are like the general code of ethics for an accountant, uh, the widely known ones are things around one integrity, objectivity, confidentiality, independence, and professional competence and due care. I'll just take them just slightly. So integrity in sense of, because the nature of what accounting relates to, it involves quite dealing with a lot of numbers, and uh, it takes someone that has that level of integrity to not I would say tamper with figures, or change your opinion uh, where where you're probably being intimidated. So for instance, I've had instances where I might have written an accounting opinion, and this is what the accounting standard is saying. This is what the treatment of this thing should be, and you might get some feedback from perhaps, let's say, superior people, or let's say you've done some review and you use some wordings, like some harsh wordings to kind of pass a message. You might get some feedback like, okay, can you change the wording slightly? Now, changing the wording slightly, fine, it might be change of English, but the thing is that there are instances where when you soften the tone of, let's say, the report of what you've written, it kind of changes the dynamics of the message. So, and what that means is that you're probably deviating from what you should say, and that's actually where integrity actually comes in, like staying true to your words without being influenced. And objectivity also in terms of saying things as they were, without being influenced by any factor. So if you're writing an accounting opinion for a company that is owned by your dad or your family member, if you have the same issue, you should give the same opinion if it were to be someone that you don't have any relationship with. So that's something that has been objective. And confidentiality, it's also things around, because as an accountant, you tend to see quite a lot of figures. Like, I mean, I've done some financial reports, like seen some reports, seen some payrolls, and kind of, you could tell this is what some of your clients are earning, and or this is the type of revenue that your clients are making, or you have some information about some of your clients that are probably about going to let's say going to market to, let's say, raise debt or raise equity. And these are things that, if you have this type of information, you could actually do, like, quickly cash out or act, inform someone that knows someone to quickly invest in a particular equity, because you know something is going to happen. There's an announcement coming, and the share price might increase. So keeping that confidential information without using it to your advantage is one of those key ethics which are required by an accountant. And I'll just drop it at last point, which is about professional competence and due care. Even as an accountant, it's not just alone for you to do professional exams, get qualified, and get the license. You also need to constantly update yourself on what the new trends are. So as an accountant, you don't just like sit down on your BSc, your ACA. You need to know what are the new trends in the accounting practice? What are like the updates to accounting standards so that you could more like help your clients or help your organizations with recent information on the things around their profession. So I would say that those are more like the key summaries of an accountant code of ethics, I would say. Thank you.
All right. Beautifully said, I must say. Of course, a lot of things that as an accountant you are privy to. Definitely, like you mentioned, confidentiality. Right. I'd like to come to Dr. Ayu very shortly on the issue of professional ethics. As an engineer now, you said to us in this field for well more than 10 years. I'd like to know because we have two participants right here that are also engineers, those that are not engineers people that are aspiring to come into this field. What are those ethics that we should actually look out for? If we do not have it, how do we actually grow or develop it rather?
Thank you very much for the questions. I assume you have two questions there. The first one, the one, acceptable work ethics in the field of engineering, and secondly, you also mentioned that what can we do to acquire it? Okay. As the main speaker mentioned during his speech, I was able to meet some of his presentation. I really applaud him for the job well done. He made it clear that when it comes to ethics, it is something that is generic. It does not depend on your profession. It is something that you must have to be a complete professional. So I agree and I align with that statement. And as Mr. Idrissa indirectly mentioned also in his own speech, he also gives some instances how it applies, its applicability to accounting. So if I want to say in the field of engineering, the number one ethics that an engineer needs to be familiar or aware of is that for anything you want to embark on, you have to put as number one priority safety, health, welfare of the public. And when you talk of public, you are also included in that public. Let's get it right. And what that means in essence is no matter how excellent your idea is, no matter how well framed it is, if you want to implement it, always remember what you're going to do is going to impact the community. So the impact must be positive, and this has to be considered. So no matter what you want to do, safety is number one. We have seen a lot of instances. What actually led to the engineering ethics itself? It was because of a lot of casualties reported, safety issues reported in the world history that now led to several organizations, several professional bodies coming up with series of ethics. And if you look at all of them, the number one they always call attention to is safety, health, and welfare of the public have to be safeguarded at all times. That is why, for instance, weapon of mass destruction is not encouraged and must not be done. And an engineer must never participate in such thing, for instance. Point number two is that for an engineer, you need to know your area of competence and work to the level that you want to be the subject matter expert in that area of competence. For instance, it's true I'm a chemical engineer, but chemical engineering is still very broad. It's still very broad. You must know your area of specialization that when you're called upon, even if you're sleeping, you can give verdict based on that you say you know. So you must know your area of competence. So that when it comes to the area that is going out of your comfort zone with respect to your specialization that you have studied, you have worked throughout your life, you must know that this is my limit. Knowing your limit is indeed an ethics because if anything goes wrong, you will still be held accountable. Then number three is objectivity. As has been said by Mr. Idris, in engineering, objectivity is very important. When we say objectivity, it is when you are presenting a report or you are issuing out anything whatsoever, technical report, you must separate opinion from it. And when you're actually stating some hypothesis or your opinion, let it be known that this is my own opinion. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to lay the facts out for people to know. And based on that opinion, based on that fact and data, people can now infer from it whatever you want to do. But let people know the fact from your own view and opinion. This is very important. Objectivity helps a lot. So that anybody, you know, be held accountable for something you think, and you now make it something that is as if it is something that is actually a law or a fact. This is one thing I ought to call attention to, that people need to be aware of, and you have to go by this throughout your life or career if you want to be successful. And lastly, because there are a lot, but I just want to look at the most salient points so that I will not take much of our time. The last one is conflict of interest. Conflict of interest. As an engineer, if you are good, yes, you will see a lot of opportunities coming to you. You have to be careful. Conflict of interest comes in a situation that people always say, for instance, you cannot be a judge in your own case. You cannot be the one that is being accused and say you're the judge. You have to know where you are placed at a certain time and know your limit. And if, for instance, you've been assigned to do something and you know that you already have some interest that may jeopardize your being objective, clear and excuse yourself. This is the epitome of being a professional and you are ethical. Don't play game, because what goes on comes back. And if you find yourself in such a situation, it's really unpalatable, it is really sad, and you have not represented the profession you believe in as an engineer. So I will stop there because of time, and that to me, these are the four most important points that you need to look at as ethics. The other ones, like unfair competition, zero tolerance to bribery, is also very important. Fraud and corruption is always, especially in Nigeria, it's an issue. You have to be careful about that. And I will tell you, even in some advanced country in court, it's happening. It's happening. But you have to be aware. You must know when this is actually bribery. You are the one, for example, you are the one that's supposed to confirm a vendor that want to supply certain equipment. And when the New Year, Christmas, or whatever, you know now, and they just come with a full basket of gifts. But I don't know what you call it now in Nigeria. I come with that. I decide to give you a guy. It's just give, take. Ethically, you don't accept such thing. If you be one of those that is going to participate in accessing them, in accrediting them, because it comes back again. Even if you want to be fair, for the fact that you have collected something, it comes back to your soul to say, you have some soft spot for them. So this is very important. And it's indeed bribery and corruption. Again, example, my own company, and I'm sure next time they will also tell you the same thing. Others will tell you the same thing. Even if you want to collect gifts, it is benchmarked. It is benchmarked. If it goes above certain thing, you cannot even collect it. That's number one. Number two, even if it is given to you, you have to declare. And if required, it will be returned. And it's not a crime to say, sorry, I can't take this. So I will stop there. There's a lot to say. But now, you asked the second question, if I'm right. You said, how do one develop? How does one develop? Yes. You want me to answer that question as well? Okay, yes, let me quickly answer that. Yeah, let me quickly answer this question. You see, to develop professional work ethics, I will take it from the master of management, John Maxwell, from what he said. He said, if you want to develop certain character, certain beyond as a moral behavior, then it has to follow these three things. It has to be intentional, it has to be action oriented, and you have to be disciplined. Intentional means that anytime you are assigned any responsibility or you have any work to do, just remember, before you embark on it, put that task in your front or that activity and always have your ethics with it, with readiness to apply it at all time. Don't never estimate that this one or estimate that this is not a big issue. No, take it serious and apply it intentionally. That is the only way you can scale through. Just do something that if it comes out at any point in time or anywhere, you'll be rest assured that you have done your best and you apply all what you know into it. That is the way you will be saved. Number two, action oriented. Anything that's intentional, it's not enough to just say I intended it and you never do it. You have to apply it. You have to apply it. At times, it's very difficult. And I mean it. It's very difficult. But if you are disciplined, that's the third one now, you can always keep through. If you are disciplined and it pays off at the end, even in the beginning, you may be given names, you may be called different things, you cannot understand until you get there. But I always tell people, if you follow these three things at all time, you always have your way at the end. So I always stop there so that I don't take much of our time, but there's still a lot to be said based on experience and a lot of things here. So thanks for that.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Ayu. That was very, very beautiful one you have there. Now, I'm coming to Mr. Olatunde. Currently, we are still working from home, and you are still working from home as well. So, I'd like to talk about working from home vis-a-vis eschewing professional ethics. How do you make sure that in the course of working from home, we have people that are having challenges with, of course, if you have the normal person-to-person interaction in the office environment, which we do not currently have, how do you ensure that professional ethics and standards are there too during the course of you working from home?
Fantastic. I think that's a very good question apt for our times. And in fairness, I've lived it now for about 9 months. So I've only been into the office twice in 9 months. Initially that's good and all that. You have more family time. There's work-life balance. I can do school runs. I schedule meetings. My meeting won't start until after I've dropped my daughter to school, for example. And because, okay, it's my project. I'm working with stakeholders unless there's specific situations where, a particular stakeholder wants something early and all that. But it's become a standard rule. And in fact, I think many people are now aligned to that. So I could want to meet with a director and it's like, Ibrahim, that's too early for me. I'm doing school runs. So you can see that stories start to align there. So that's me doing school runs. Director now is doing school runs. So, I think I want to start from the point of view that, yes, there's been the pandemic. People have been working from home, but there's been some really good things that's come out of that because people are now able to have more time with the family. Your car, the life expectancy for your car will be longer now. You're spending less on petrol, and all that. So having said that, there's still certain rules that we need to ensure that we abide by. It is very, very important so that at least we remain the good boys and the good girls that we were when we were in the office. So it doesn't seem as if, okay, now we're no longer in the office, then we're nowhere. Particularly in my role, still as the people I've been working with since March that have actually not met me face to face. They cannot describe what I look like. Yes, they can tell, oh, this guy's probably African from a strong accent or something. But I must tell you that people know about me in the sense that, I'm organizing meetings, I'm arranging workshops, I'm calling people and introducing myself and things like that. So they already know because there is that, visibility that one just makes people aware of. So it's very, very important. Working from home still must be visible. Yeah, you ensure that timekeeping does not slack at all. Meetings meant to start at whatever time. Make sure as the organizer, or if not, you're just a participant, you've had a meeting in mind, you ensure that you oblige. If you cannot attend, either propose a new time, or send a delegate, or you decline. If you're primary to that meeting, then the organizer can then reschedule for another time. What's also very, very key is that level of transparency. So in my role, so I manage huge budgets. So I could be managing projects ranging from 500k pounds to 2.5 million pounds or more. And people want to see what's happening with their money. So when they've given me money to manage, they've never seen me. There are only a handful of people that see me. Maybe those are people that probably when like we went for interviews, and all that. So it's very important to ensure that you're now very, very transparent. How do you ensure that you're transparent? By ensuring that you providing regular reporting. Yeah, reporting that you adapt to your stakeholders. Now, you need to ensure you shouldn't just be sending reports for report's sake. Report has to be sent and it has to be consumed. You make sure that your reporting is effective. How do you make sure it's effective? You ensure one who needs to, have visibility of the report. How would they like to have it? Because I could have Dr. Ayub might like his report by email. Alaji Idris might want his report, by on PowerPoint presentation. Mustafa might want a telephone conversation. Okay, so you need to one, that level of transparency, and by being transparent, you tie that in with adaptability. You adapt your ways to suit your stakeholders. Yes, we're working from home, but it is actually the time that you need to tighten your belt more. Yeah, people need to have the confidence that yes, you're not in the office, but things are still happening. If there are issues and risks, you are actually the one in the forefront fighting the battle to resolve those issues or risks that they may have. Yeah, so they don't want to be a situation. You don't want to be the invisible, invisible guy. When the going gets tough, then you're nowhere to be seen. Yeah, or with the excuse that you're working from home. At least no one can see you if you come up with an excuse that an emergency happened and things like that. So we need to ensure that as much as possible we don't let our guards down. Yeah, we are transparent, we are adaptable in our ways, and we ensure that we continue to give the confidence that our stakeholders expect of us as much as possible. In saying that, one is managing people. And I bet you, from many of the people here and the speakers, available, the world now is such that it is so diverse in terms of the social makeup. That you need to be mindful as well of how you deal with the different individuals. What do I mean by that? I think this is very, very important to tie into the question in regards to social awareness, cultural awareness. What drives the motivation of people? Yet you want to get people to do stuff that are working from home. How do you get them motivated? How do you speak to certain individuals? It's very, very important to be aware. Okay, I have this new English colleague. How do I deal with him? I have this Indian colleague. How do I deal with her? I have this Japanese colleague. How do I deal with her? The way I deal with the English Jacob will be very different the way I deal with, Krishna from India, because Krishna is someone that is very shy. Yeah, very shy, struggles to come up with their words and things like that. So how do you ensure you get the best out of Krishna when you know that it may take little to get it out of the English Jacob, and all that. So again, finding that right balance to ensure that you keep people motivated whilst they're working from home is very, very key as well. And you know what? Ignorance, they used to say, is not an excuse and things like that. ignorance in capital letters is now unethical. You cannot say, oh, it's because I didn't know I can't talk to an Indian colleague like that. Yeah, I booked that important meeting, but it is public holiday for the guys working in India. So you need to be an all-round leader, a servant leader. Even if you're not a leader, yet you need to be that loyal and socially aware follower so that you're not rocking the boat for the leadership. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much. That was very insightful. And of course, for our attendees and participants, we'll come into your questions very shortly, just so we'll be able to take, a lot of questions from participants here. I'd like to pause for my own questions, and I'll be taking questions from the Q&A box. I already have questions already, so if you have a question, please post it in the Q&A. I'll take it very swiftly. I'd like to implore our panelists that you should kindly give quick answers to those questions as to enable us to take on the question and ask many questions as possible. I'd like to start with Mr. Idris. I already have a question from Sulaiman Anileleye, who says, how do we cope in a situation of ethical dilemma in an organization, especially in the area of tax evasion, when the MD CEO and the board members are in support of tax evasion? That's quite something there. Mr. Idris, you can.
I think it's on mute.
Hello?
I think it's on mute.
Oh. Go on, please. It's on mute now. Unfortunately, we cannot hear your audio. Can you check your mic? Kindly check your mic, please. Okay, I think go ahead. Yes, better. Did you get the question?
Yeah, I do, but can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. I can hear you. Go ahead, please.
Okay. So I mean, in that instance, I mean, I wouldn't say I've been in that particular scenario, but maybe something similar. And when something similar in practice, we would usually say that if anybody should go to jail, then it has to be the client. What that means is that if you're consulting for a client and they are asking you to do things that are unethical, then you need to abstain from that and make your position quite clear and documented such that in event of any investigation, then it has to be established that you've actually done your part and you were not in support of something similar. I'm bringing it back to this specific question. So, I mean, what am I advised in that instance is one, the first step is to make your position known. And I mean, when making your position known, it's something that you need to make it quite formal, not more like an. I mean, there might be some informal discussion, but one is we need to make it formal. And we usually say if it's not documented, then it's not done. So you need to like make it formal. It might be like an email or a memo, something stating what the issue is, what your position is, so that the organization would not be involved in tax evasion. And perhaps you could go one step further. So rather than going the tax evasion, you could help the organizations to identify if there are instances where you could you could leverage on some I wouldn't say loopholes, but some avenues in which you could actually reduce your tax legally. So I mean, it's kind of called called tax avoidance, like using legal means within the tax laws to kind of reduce your tax yeah, so if it's possible to look at those alternative options and try and use that option, then that'll be fine. Then I think lastly is you might, I mean, I think there was an instance where I initially interned at some place like that was like way quite earlier in my career. It was a tax firm, and I mean I observed the kind of shady things that I was doing in terms of the tax evasion and like and what I did was I had to resign because I was like I can't. I mean that might be your last resort. I mean if you make your position known, you suggested alternative for where they could use in terms of reducing that tax. If not to buy in that, then I think maybe the last resort might just be to look for alternatives if possible. But if not, I mean, if things are hard, you can't just like resign. But I mean, it's also based on personal. Some people will just rather just resign and like without getting some sense. But I mean, the
Okay.
might be like actually start looking out for something. That's
All right. All right. Thank you so much for that addressing it. I'd like to come to Dr. Ayub. There's a question for you from Muhammad Abdul Wasi. He said, what are the areas you want to advise someone in the line of industrial engineering and management venture into? Very briefly, sir.
Well, looking at the present time, looking at the trend how things are going now, I would say it's true that all engineering are really good, depending on what your own passion is, what you love to do. But from the way things are going now, I would say anything that has to do with deep data analysis, and you are now going to some sort of artificial intelligence where you have to work with respect to crunching data and apply to the engineering part of it is actually booming now. And I give you some instances now. For instance, as has been said, very soon robotics will be claiming a lot of job from people, right? But doesn't mean people will lose job. But just to make people wiser and do something that will be taxing us beyond what is being done routinely. You get what I'm saying? So that is why I feel that in that area is actually something that we need to focus on. But that has, although that has been said, I would say, and this is what I believe in so much, what you feel you have passion for, what you feel that you can make impact, it may be rough. And if you don't want to settle for something less, you want to settle for something middle class, I'm sure anything you want to venture in, pursue it, go for it. But be ready to make the sacrifice, be it in mechanical engineering, be it chemical engineering, be it electrical engineering, but just have it in mind that you want to reach the peak of that career. And as you move that way, I'm so passionate about it, I'm sure you will get it. This is exactly what I'm just going to say in this regard, Sunny. But if you still want to ask me, I will say, I have, from what I've seen based on highest paid engineering stuff in the world today and as it is going, I'm actually in that area of, let's talk of this system engineering that is going with respect to AI and other big data concept really.
All right, thank you so much. Once again, Dr. Ayub, I'd like to go on to Mr. Olatunde Ibrahim now. There's a question around how do you ensure self-discipline in the course of discharging your professional ethics? You want to develop professional ethics. How do you ensure you are self-disciplined? Brief answer to that, please.
Thank you very much. I think the core areas. So that normally starts with a sincere period of self-reflection. If you want to be really sincere with yourself, stand before a mirror and tell yourself who you are. Who do you think you are? What can you say about yourself? What will people say about you? What have been those things that have influenced my thinking? What was my upbringing like? What kind of education did I have? Who are my peers? What kind of laws influence me? What am I interested in? Who are the kind of people I look up to? Yeah. What is my understanding of the global principle of ethics? Yeah. We have to be sincere. We're all not equal. Some people struggle. Some people are just naturally nice. Some people are naturally disciplined. It takes them no effort. Some people, which we have to be true to ourselves, will take a lot of hard work to get them to be disciplined. I know my strengths. I know where I'm weak. I'm very weak at as well. Yeah. In fact, if I'm to list it out, my areas of weakness could probably outweigh my areas of strength. But what I consciously do is to acknowledge those weaknesses and do things about them. I'll tell you, for example, and you don't know, by being true to yourself, it's not always on those weaknesses, it won't always come back as a negative if you're sincere about it and you make conscious effort to do things about it. I went for a job interview years ago, and the question came up. Okay, so if I was to ring your boss today, what will they say you struggle with? And I know that am somewhat is I won't say control freak, but I like to be in control of my domain. Yes, so what that then means that I could struggle to delegate. And that means that those that are looking up or those that are meant to be, providing leadership to and not given the opportunity to learn what it takes, what it means to be in that position that I am. Then when I knew that my productivity started sleeping, when I realized that this work is getting too much, I then self-reflected and realized I think I'm taking too much on. Yes, it is my job. I've got competent people that I should be able to delegate things to. So what is my fear? What is my concern? Once I doing that, is it training? Okay, I'll take them. I'll give them training. Yeah. And who are those that have shown the right desire, the right skills, even without being asked? They may not have asked that they want to develop, but because they've shown the right attitude, and I know that people have done that to me as well. I've never actively developed in instances, although I know how ambitious I am. Yes, I've been vocal about where I want to do, how I want to progress. But still, there have been instances where some senior managers will have seen stuff and like, okay, they give one the opportunity. So why am I not doing the same for those that have been put in my care? So again, self-reflection. So what happened at that interview? And I explained that. I acknowledged, I said what I was doing about it, and I explained what was happening now in the sense that, I'm enjoying my work, what became, less monotonous for me. My staff started to progress, employee engagement increased, and all that. So, and the person that was interviewing me was listening in with interest because he had the same problem. That was someone that's going to be my boss. Yes, I got the job, not just because of that, because we had something in common. Yes, there were those competencies that they think for. When I received feedback on the back of that interview from the recruiter, it was like, oh, you did very well and all that. What also came back was that you had, a common, area, that, that person that was going to be my boss, kind of shared, who's at the director level and things like that. So we shouldn't think that because we're struggling with something, it's because of where we are. Yet even those that we think that we're looking up to may also be struggling. You just need a period of self-reflection, acknowledge those areas of deficiency in discipline, and deal with it. Yeah, and deal with it. Just own up to it and deal with it. I hope that answers the question.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. The next question I'd like to pose to Mr. Idris Ainde will have to do with work performance and work ethics now. Not performance and work ethics. Now, as it were, of course, we have, fantastic panelists right now. We have Mr. Idris in the UK. We have Mr. Ibrahim Olatunde also in the UK, Dr. Ayub, all the way from Saudi Arabia, of course, in Asia. As it were, we have a lot of those participants here are from Nigeria. Some who are employed currently, some are also looking out for jobs. The major challenge we have, as it were, is some are brilliant people. So how do we actually place work ethics, professional work ethics, and our job performance? Is there a relationship between the two?
Yeah. Thanks for the question. Can you hear me, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, excellent. Yeah. So they kind of go hand in hand. And I would say this is the fact that your level of performance on the job it's also a function of what level of professional ethics that you currently exhibit, and I'll give specific examples. Now, if my director comes to me, Idris, I need this report. The clients want this report. I need this report urgently. The clients want it delivered next week, Friday. Now, so the first thing I would usually do is I would ask the question like, how urgent is it? Like, when exactly is the real deadline? Because you might have worked with people, they'll tell you, okay, the client needs it tomorrow, like, and you send the report like, work your time off, and 1 week later you wouldn't get any response, right? So oftentimes I've tried to like establish that relationship, like get to know the actual deadline, like when is the real deadline for this thing, because I've got some other things I'm doing. And if the real deadline would not work, what I would usually do is to say, okay, I'm doing one or two things. Would this particular time work for you? And if they say that time is fine, then I ensure that I deliver on that time. Now, if someone is not ethical, what would you usually do is that, Idris, can you do this thing and give it to me on Friday? No, I'll finish it. And today is, let's say, Monday. Don't worry, I'll send it to you by Wednesday. And you can't actually finish that thing by Wednesday, but you just want to like impress. What would have happened is, one, you would have lied. That's what it means, and that means people would not usually take you for your word. And what that means is that in terms of efficiency, you will be regarded as someone that would not usually do the work. You will not get the work done. And over time, like across like I've worked with like close to like 3 big four firms, and one of the consistent feedback that I've gotten is that you could always give Idris to work and you can go to sleep, because if I would not do it, I would not take it. But if I can do it, then I will take it. Then I will tell you, this is the time that I can do it. And usually, I would always ensure that I deliver to that time. And it has been a consistent feedback. And this is what like people have like known me for. So it's something that one should also do. And what that means is that on the basis of your performance, when people want to like assess if people want to assess you, what they will tell you is that, okay, if you give work to this social person, will the person get it done? Yes. And that's part of one of the things that people use as a performance metrics, like having to be able to get the work done. So I would say they actually go hand in hand. And another thing is that if you have this if you have professional ethics when you're working, in terms of, and you kind of exhibit those key ethics or key criteria that you should do, like having to do your work objectively, taking due care, and exhibiting professional competence when doing your work. Like when people assign job to you, you kind of go the extra mile. Nobody will tell you that you need to go the extra miles, but trying to act professional would require that you would have exhausted like the possible alternative, or like try to find some solutions to those things. Like, so when you're confronted with problems, you don't kind of go back with questions. Like I've worked with like certain directors, like the expectation is that when someone gives you something, like you don't go back with more problems, because otherwise the person would have reached out to you in the first instance if the person wants you to bring more problems. So part of that thing is taking and it's part of taking due care, which is part of your professional responsibilities. Now, take that extra effort, make some bit of additional research. Like, okay, if I'm, let's say, for instance, I'm working on an accounting questions, right, and there is a query I need to answer or a response to a client. Now, I mean, working with a big four firm, there's usually like a technical reference for accounting standard with KPMG defined. So I might go there and let's say I couldn't find like any reference in the KPMG accounting manual. Then I go like extra mile, take another big four firm. They would usually be listing that somebody somewhere would have thought of it and they would have written something. So oftentimes when I kind of go that extra mile, I would just be surprised that exactly what I was looking for has been thought by maybe someone else in another form, and you kind of just read it and you get their own perspective, and then you kind of come up with solutions. So usually in such instances, then I kind of come back with, okay, this is what you asked me to do. This is what I find out. Like if you go this route, this is the implication. If you go this route, this is the implication. So it's a problem, but you kind of got by the problem. You came back with a problem with a solution such that it's easier for the person to actually make a decision, and from that point you can kind of move forward. Now, this is you exhibiting your normal professionalism now, taking extra due when you're trying to carry out your work. But when people would assess your performance in terms of how you work, they'll be able to attest that fine, this person is honest, he kind of he wants to keep promise, he kind of delivers on time. This person goes extra mile in terms of if you give the person something, the person sorry, when you give the person something to do, the person would usually come back with solutions, and these are more like offshoot from you being professional, but they also overall they affect how people perceive you, and they also affect your outcome, because even in the process you also like get to learn, and you gain more, and people have a better perspective of what you do. And really, in practice of the way how people work usually, fine, you might have delivered excellently on like the given tasks that you've been asked to do, but people also look at what are these other soft skills that you kind of exhibit, like the other things that you do aside from what you've written, like how do you kind of manage people, like stakeholders management, like when I mean someone might have given you something to deliver in a week, you don't like now wait till that 1 week and get back to the person, like maybe once in 2 days. Hi, so I'm currently working on this, I'm on this stage, and that's 1 or 2 line message or text or email, just to give the person comfort that you're on it, you're working on it, and this is the stage that you're in. So stakeholder management is also something that is also very, very important that you also need to do. Yeah, thank you.
Hello? We can't hear you, Mr. Mustafa.
Okay. So I can't hear you.
Same thing here.
Okay. Hello, Salam alaikum. While we're expecting Madam Mustafa to come back with his audio, I won't take the next question, and I would want Dr. Bugeni Ayub to attend to it. That in what way can one uphold ethical behavior in a setting where gross misconduct is rampant? How can you maintain ethical behavior in an organization where gross misconduct and corruption is the order of the day?
This is a very tough question, and I think Mr. Idris has already helped me out when he answered the question that was posed to him last time, and I can still see it's related to the same. You see, one as Muslim, you just have to be extra careful. No matter what you want to do, always remember that we are going to answer the call of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's number one. Now, number two is that professionally, as the question was raised, gross misconduct. I would say that this is meant that it has no boundary. It is even that maybe that's how they make their profit. And also, and let us just remember, if that is how it is, sooner or later, it will be clear that people are not straightforward. People just make their stuff from illegal means and things like that. So what I would say is that as a professional, all in all, most importantly, we are Muslims. It's always good to be known with what? With ethics, as we are explaining here. And what that means is it's not a good attitude to say if we can't beat them, then you join them. No. So that is why the fear why people actually follow the wagon is because you have not developed yourself to the level that even if you lose this because of gross misconduct, as you say, the fear that I don't know what is in the future, you are afraid of what you're going to meet. So that is why people are always afraid and they just go with the trend of things. So on that note, as it's always been said, how will you feel for anything you do? How will you feel if that thing just appear on the daily newspaper the next day? Are you proud to be identified with such thing? Do you want your name to be attached to such thing? If yes, then go ahead. But if no, then it's better to excuse yourself. Sooner or later, if you are very sincere, if you follow the ethics that's supposed to be, even if you lose this job, another better one will come. Never join the group that say if you can't beat them, you join them. It's not that easy. It's true. At times you may even spend years without getting anything to do. Again, that is why I said if you have this concept of continuous improvement, you keep on developing yourself. You cannot just miss out in the business world. Very interesting. Mr. Idris just mentioned it now. Yeah, he got 3 jobs already. I mean, from 1 to 2 to 10. He just spent just 6 years. So if you're good, the market is there for you. So never join them. Just know that you need to do your own part. Let them know this is not part of what should be done. And if it's becoming something unbearable and you just want to drag you into it, it's better to opt out. Just on the last note, I remember the case of a friend of mine who actually he was employed. And you know what the person told him at certain time was challenging them because he saw that this is gross misconduct and this is not terrible. Sooner or later, it's going to affect the life of the client they actually want to do this for. And the guy was challenging them that no, what you want to do here is ethically not right. Do you know what that man told him? The owner of the business, it's a big company anyway, there in Lagos State. He told him, look, I employed you. And as I employed you, just do what I say. You are not here to think and challenge me. Just do what I say. I paid for you. I'm sure you also face something worse than that. But the guy actually now resigned honorably because he realized that this area is toxic and there's no way he can make it there. Just always remember, anything you want to do, imagine that the next day your name will be published in the daily newspaper. How do you want your name to be seen? How do you want your family to see your name? How do you want those that look up to you would like to see your name? If you can put it in right perspective, then you know when to say, sorry, I'm done, I have to go. And if you do it sincerely, I'm sure you always win at the end. Thank you. You are muted.
I'm sorry, Jazakumullah for that response to that question. Time is fast spent, but I want to take a final one before we move to the next item of the agenda, and that goes to Malam Ibrahim Olatunde. The question goes on: is it ethical to form a mentor-mentee relationship with top officials in your company, with part of the objectives being to get a top position in the company? Is it ethical to form a mentor-mentee relationship with one of
the top official, with the intention of probably rising to that position too.
It's not just ethical, it is highly recommended. Okay, so it's not just ethical, it is highly recommended. Then, as Muslims, we should always aspire for the best. Now, we're in a world where people's always finding where to point fingers. People's always finding where to blame and things like that. If you know that those elevated positions are ones that, one, will help you to better yourself, will help you to better, will not compromise your deen, and also helps you to benefit the community, then please, yeah, if the structure within the organization allows for that, aim for mentorship up, to that highest level that you can have in terms of who can be your mentor. Yeah, I've had, someone sitting on the executive committee of a company, of a PLC. That's been my mentor. So, we shouldn't feel that, okay, at this stage I am, of course, I'm still evolving. I'm still trying to even develop. I'm still learning. But at every stage, you have mentors. A CEO of one of the top, FTSE 250 company or FTSE 500 company in the UK, he's got a mentor. So that's a CEO. So who's to talk about us? So we should actively crave to have mentors. And not just have mentors. If you feel that you know something, also create a platform where you can share. Even if you feel that that's, your money is worthwhile and things like that, maybe charge stipends for people to pay and things like that, and provide a service where people can learn from what you've got as well. And so I know you've mentioned that transfer aspect. The simple answer to that is all in that full sentence. It is ethical and it is highly recommended.
Yeah, I mean, let me just quickly add something to that. Like, it's for those that are probably working in, let's say, like in practice, big four accounting firm or something similar. Like, you can't actually progress aside from like someone that would be allocated to you like your coach. You would usually need to like have someone that would be like your mentor, and we kind of call it within practice. They call it sponsorship. So you can't actually like rise to, let's say, make partner without having a sponsor. And a sponsor, it means someone that is probably currently a partner that would say, okay, I'm sponsoring this person to be a partner. So it's something that you should do, and like as early as possible, try and establish that relationship. It's absolutely legal, and I would say it's part of the office politics. Let me just put it that way. So correct. It's something that you just need to.
Thank you so much for that. I think I was just going to touch on that because people say, politics. Yes, in your home there is politics. In the office, of course there is, but you shouldn't be in the politics of, dog eat dog, and all that. You should be clean. Make your intentions clear. What you can say behind someone, what you can say in front of someone, don't say behind them. Let your position be clear. I am aspiring for this position, not that you're the ones behind. Those that have openly said they want to aspire. You go amongst them. You've not made your intentions clear, so they feel that, okay, you're not interested and they say whatever. You take everything they've said and you then go to the back to want to take advantage of that. As Muslims, that's even, it's haram. You shouldn't, that's like acting like a spy or something like that. So we shouldn't do that. So make your intentions clear. Politics, thanks for mentioning that. It exists. And, where you can take advantage of it in a good way, not in any sort of, applying any advice to it. Now, just to add to what Brother Idris said, in many organizations, in many big organizations, if you have to put yourself forward at times for, it's in Nigeria that I know that you spend so years in an organization, they promote you. Yeah. In the UK, no. One, you have to display competence. Even if you display competence, if you don't show that you have the ambition, they'll call you a foot soldier. You're saying that you're happy doing what you want to do, and you can be there for 25 years. I know people like that. I've been into organization. I entered the organization. They were in that role. I progressed. They were in that role. I left that role 6 years after. They're still in the same role. So again, they have to. Individuals like that could just be happy with that. If you are extremely good, it's only in those exceptional situations that, even if you not put yourself forward, people will want to nudge you. I've been called into a room, years back to say there's a role coming up. In fact, they've not advertised the role. But before the role came out, I knew that I've got it. Even though others applied, because the senior manager, because it's part of we're talking about ethical now, but the ethics is that they have to advertise the role. But again, they're the ones they want to ensure that they've got the right person in the role. Yeah, so they called me to decide to say, there's this role coming up. Make sure you apply for it. They just stated that. Of course, they won't make me apply. If I didn't apply, labas, it's okay, but it will send a message as if, he's not ambitious or something like that. So they nudged me forward and I applied, And in fact, the person that told me to apply was the one giving me tough time in the interview, and things like that. It went through, alhamdulillah. So be good, but again, be forthcoming with your aspirations. Let people know, yeah, and develop yourself as doctors mentioned.
Jazakumullah khairan. Before I hand over back to Madam Mustafa Kirani, said understanding of office politics is part of the office ethics too. We must all understand and know how to go about it. What is important is that come out plain and be sincere, be open as a Muslim. No matter Allah, make it an easy one for us. Madam Mustafa, over to you. Madam Mustafa, your audio is muted. You are muted, Madam Mustafa.
It's not on mute. I think there's something wrong with it.
I think there's something wrong with your audio, Madam Mustafa. Check your audio or your mic. Well, without wasting much of our time, move to the next program of the agenda, which is Vote of Thanks, to be delivered by the Vice President, GRAMA. Happens to be the same person. I want to say Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen for this wonderful time out with all these consultants we have in the room. Starting from our keynote speaker, Madam Ni, for that wonderful presentation and opening remarks. And equally, I want to thank Dr. Ayub, all the way from Saudi Arabia. He has been one of our mentors before he left Nigeria. Coincidentally, I think most of our guests, starting from Dr. Ayub to Madam Ibrahim Olatunde, then our brother Idris Ayinde, all ex-Unilag products. I'm not from Unilag, I'm from Lagos State University.
Wow, I'm glad to know that.
You need to go back to uni.
We are proud. Alhamdulillah, thank you for coming around, and I say Jazakumullah khairan and all our participants for being around for GRAMA programs. We can follow our programs on Instagram, Facebook, all the social media. If you want to be part of our activities, you can just check our page. We're only trying to at least get ourselves equipped with the skill sets in the modern day. Almighty Allah in His infinite mercy accept this little strive as act of ibadah, forgive us all our shortcomings, and crown all our efforts with a sounding success. Jazakumullah khairan. Madam Safa, are you back? No, you are not back.
I just want to what is this story?
What happened, my brother? Are you silently handing over? No, you have the program. So Alhamdulillah, at this point we would come to the end of today's session. We would believe that whenever we call on any of our guest speakers and some other participants, you'll be willing and glad to be part of this program. We say Jazakumullah khairan for coming and be part of this program. May Almighty Allah reward every one of us.
Walaikum salam. So I think on this note, we want to call it a day. Dr. Ayub Jazakumullah khairan. Nice having you around.
Mr. Latude, I would like to meet you really. Right, great. So both of you from Unilag, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
I was.
I think they're all Fabansa, if I'm not mistaken. Fabansa, yeah.
Yeah, I was.
Oh, Fabansa, okay. Well, maybe much later then, because I left in 1997. 97, yeah. So.
Yeah. 97, I joined 96.
Okay.
Our boys, you know.
من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وقيل للذين اتقوا ماذا أنزل ربكم قالوا خيرا للذين أحسنوا في هذه الدنيا حسنة ولدار الآخرة خير ولنعم دار المتقين جنات عدن يدخلونها تجري من تحتها الأنهار لهم فيها ما يشاءون كذلك يجزي الله المتقين الذين تتوفاهم الملائكة طيبين يقولون سلام عليكم ادخلوا الجنة بما كنتم تعملون
أشهد أن لا أشهد أن لا
bẹ́ẹ̀ ni ó tún wọlé wẹ́rẹ́.
ìpàgọ́ IVC tó ń wáyé lópin ọdún ẹlẹ́kọ̀ọ́kàndínláàdọ́fà irú rẹ̀ náà là ń wí látọwọ́ ẹgbẹ́ akẹ́kọ̀ọ́ mùsùlùmí ilẹ̀ Nàìjíríà ẹ̀ka tìpínlẹ̀ Èkó.
gbogbo ẹ̀yin òbí àti ará nítorí àrùn kòkòrò àìfojúrí COVID-19 tó gbòde kan àti kí gbogbo olùkópa ó bá lè wà lálàáfíà orí ẹ̀rọ ayélujára láti ṣe ìpàgọ́ tọ̀tẹ̀ yìí.
ìpàgọ́ àrà ọ̀tọ̀ yìí yóò bẹ̀rẹ̀ ní 24th of December 2020 títí wọ 1st of January 2021 lórí àkòrí òkúnkúndùn the priority.
wá àti àtúnyẹ ní ṣe lọ́lọ́kan òjọ̀kan láti máa jàǹfààní rẹ̀ gẹ́gẹ́ bí ìṣe wa lórí bí a ṣe lè perégedé nínú ẹ̀kọ́ ìwé bí àwọn ọ̀dọ́ ṣe lè mú ìdàgbàsókè báwùjọ ìṣàfọ̀mọ́ ẹ̀mí àkànṣe lórí ewu tó wà nínú Yahoo Plus ìdíje lọ́lọ́kan òjọ̀kan àti bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ.
ẹ darapọ̀ mọ́ àwọn ògbóǹtarìgì ọ̀mọ̀wé lórílẹ̀‐èdè yìí bí ọ̀jọ̀gbọ́n Salisu Shehu akọ̀wé àgbà àjọ gbogbogbò tó ń rí sí ọ̀rọ̀ ẹ̀sìn Islam nílẹ̀ yìí ọ̀jọ̀gbọ́n Adeleke alákòóso ẹ̀ka ìmọ̀ òfin ní iléèwé LASU dókítà Nurudeen Ọlálẹ́yẹ ọ̀gá àgbà iléèwé gbogbo nìṣe ìpínlẹ̀ Èkó Sheikh Gula Shafin mufti àgbà àjọ CIO àti bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ.
fún àlàyé 08173291878 tàbí 08098478405.
olùkéde Malam Miftahuddin Sani ààrẹ MSSN ìpínlẹ̀ Èkó.
أشهد أن لا
Yes, it's here and we're at it again.
It's about the 109th annual Islamic Vacation Course IVC from the stable of Muslim Student Society of Nigeria, Lagos State Area Unit.
Esteemed parents and guardians, because we care, please note that due to the current global COVID-19 pandemic and safety of participants, the vacation course will take place on virtual platform and not physical this time.
It runs from December 24th, 2020 to January 1st, 2021 with the theme, The Priority.
As usual, we've got all participants covered with soul-inspiring lectures on academic summit, youth and nation building, spiritual path to prosperity, special on Yahoo Plus quiz competition, and lots more.
Join some of the best erudite Nigerian scholars like Professor Salisu Shehu, National Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, Professor Adeleke, Dean Faculty of Law LASU, Dr. Nurudeen Ọlálẹ́yẹ, Rector LASPOTECH, Sheikh Zikula Shafi, Grand Mufti CIO, amongst others, as they light up the online IVC.
So What are you waiting for? Hurry up and sign up now. For enquiries and details, call 0817-329-1878 or 0809-847-8405.
Announcer Malam Biftah Sani, Amir, MSSN, Lagos State Area.
محمد رسول الله.
من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وقيل للذين اتقوا ماذا أنزل ربكم قالوا خيرا للذين أحسنوا في هذه الدنيا حسنة ولدار الآخرة خير ولنعم دار المتقين. جنات عدن يدخلونها تجري من تحتها الأنهار لهم فيها ما يشاءون كذلك يجزي الله المتقين الذين تتوفاهم الملائكة طيبين يقولون سلام عليكم ادخلوا الجنة بما كنتم تعملون.